leyenda del documental musical que ha trabajado con bandas tan legendarias como Depeche Mode o los mismos Sex Pistols, Julien Temple, está en México para impartir, entre otras cosas, una clase magistral sobre el trabajo documental de estas bandas. Thank you very much for the interview. So what was it like to work with Sex Pistols?
Oh, well, it was a bit frightening in some ways because they were not the easiest chaps. They didn't like being filmed. That was the problem. You know, if they saw a camera, they'd try and attack, which made for great shots, you know, because you have them coming and like grabbing the camera and spit, you know, right in the lens, right there, you know. So it was a baptism of fire and spit, I would say, for a young filmmaker like me then. You know, I was their age. But they were worth filming because they had such a righteous anger and energy, and every second was exciting with them. You didn't know what was going to happen next. It could be really good or it could be really bad, so it was very exciting.
So how do you happen to somehow choose or find the musicians you usually work with?
Well, I like a bit of edge, you know. I like unpredictability in a musician. And I think the best ones do completely astound you, you know, that you don't know what they're going to do next. They're very free people, musicians, in their lives, which I like. You know, they don't have a set routine necessarily, so you don't know what's going to happen next. And I love musicians who think about the world as well. I think they're good philosophers sometimes.
You were also sharing an anecdote about Whitney Houston on a flight, New York, LA. So you happened to find that person, that singer, who you defined to be not to be understood by the industry. What was it like? What do you mean?
Well, I thought I was going to meet a pop princess, you know, someone who knew nothing about the world, who had no attitude, was like a zombie, being a very beautiful zombie, but being told what to do by all these people around her. And I found she had a really strong personality and had an understanding of the street and how people have to live in the real world, which was surprising to me. You know, obviously the Sex Pistols were the opposite to that. They came with a sense of understanding and being very much their own people, no one tell them what to do. So I was surprised that a big pop princess like Whitney Houston wasn't what you'd been told she was. You know, that was interesting for me.
Are you being critical somehow to the music industry? I mean, music industry tends to create stars and not really singers. What's your position towards this industry, which tends to create that, stars?
Well, like everything, I think there have been some really great people who've worked in the music industry, particularly in the 50s, 60s in America. You know, some amazing creative people created the music industry. But I think it's become a kind of parody of what it was, and that, you know, they create these television celebrity contests, and they have one album, and then next let's have another one, and then they're trying to get people who are incapable of saying anything intelligent to become stars now. Whereas before we used to have people who were very intelligent that reached a very wide audience. And I think the music industry is worse now than it has ever been.
You've also been involved in video clips with Depeche Mode, Blur, even the Kings. So what's your position towards channels like MTV and VH1, which promote these musical clips?
Well, I think their role has changed, hasn't it? There was a time in the 80s when they began that they were a real focus for a large audience, were very excited by them. They were new. They gave a platform for young filmmakers to make films that could have ideas about the world. They weren't just advertising for record companies, which I think it has become more and more, you know, that the freedom of early videos is a thing of the past.